Scuba diving. Five bizarre cave diving deaths.
In the pitch black darkness, at a, most of us associate
I don't
diving.
care. Nothing's worth it. There is nothing that is down there that is worth you risking your life. Not only that, but as tragic of a death that could happen from this. It's not worth it.
Beautiful coral
Not worth
reefs and
anything.
marine life off
Unless it's like something that cures cancer. I genuinely don't think that anything's worth diving for in like tight caves.
observation.
And
But
people
deep
do this
water plunges
recreationally.
performed by professionals have nothing to
See
fear,
that?
especially when it
Diving
comes to
with
cave diving.
fish? I mess with that a lot. I mess with that a lot. I'd love to go scuba diving with like sharks.
One of the
That would
most
be sick.
complex and dangerous kinds of underwater swimming. That's why the professionals in this trade can be regarded as the best divers in the world. In 1991, the best of the best were Parker Turner and Bill Gavin. They led the most experienced and well-equipped team of cave divers in the world to explore one of the most popular underwater cave systems, Indian Springs in Florida, United States.
Popular
On the
for what
surface,
though?
this place looks like a small body of water with a rocky floor and a hole in the center. But the opening is actually the entrance to underwater
It's
caves,
popular
which
for
are over
being for
3
having the
kilometers,
most deaths. That's why people go to it, dude. I hate that.
200
I
meters
hate
long.
that so much.
Turner and Gavin had spent 2 years planning to inspect and map the unexplored part of the Indian Springs Tunnel, which started at a
Mm-mm.
depth of 90 meters.
Mm-mm.
Although they had an entire team of divers, only the 2 of them were supposed to go through the so-called restriction, an extremely narrow deep water tunnel set at a depth of 37 meters. Finally,
God, no.
on November 17, 1991, the submersion started. But before that, the divers threaded a rope through the restriction to be able to orient in space even in the conditions of poor visibility. They also left decompression tanks a few meters away from the exit. The
That's
thing is,
smart.
you can't simply reach the depths or go back up fast. With the first option, you're going to get a case of the so-called depth intoxication. When the consciousness dims, the movements become slow, and you develop a state of panic, euphoria, or hallucinations. That's why, for deep diving, they use
God.
a special mixture of oxygen, helium, and nitrogen called Trimix. Yet it becomes a problem if you surface too fast. In this case, you develop decompression sickness because the nitrogen that has accumulated in the body as the result of inhaling
I heard of
Trimix
this.
starts.
I've seen something like this before. His name was Yuri Lipsky. Y'all, if y'all want to see like the one of the most tragic like diving like oh my god, if y'all want to see one of the most tragic diving deaths, oh my god. Yuri Lipsky, look him up. I don't know how to spell it. Yirilipski. It's
Bubble
pretty bad.
right there in the diver's
It's
bloodstream.
pretty bad.
To prevent this, we need decompression, a slow, often multi-hour ascent, in the course of which people are suspended in the depth of water, waiting for the extra nitrogen to leave their bodies in the
You're in your
process
second semester tomorrow. Semester or what 6-7, bro. Bro with the 6-7.
of breathing.
Bro.
So when Bill Gavin and Parker
My god.
Turner finally submerged in the Indian Springs cave, they turned to the
Bro,
spot
that
where
is
he'd
just
left Parker Turner.
terrifying.
The man wasn't there. Bill thought his friend had gotten out, and, full of hope, he swam to the restriction, but reaching it made him shiver with horror. Gavin understood that his companion was stuck with no chance of going back or air to keep waiting. Yet, it looked like he took his last breath, left his equipment, and swam forward in the hope of reaching the extra air tanks. Whatever had happened, there
What? He left it. He left his air tanks. Bro. Bro. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I would never do that. I would never do that. Nah, dude.
appeared a small passage in the blockage, and Gavin managed to squeeze himself through. By this time, he had oxygen for around 30 seconds, so Bill swam as fast as he could. The visibility was close to zero due to the mud clouds, but he hoped to see Parker any second. Suddenly, Bill's air had run out, and, holding his breath, he managed to use all of his remaining capacity to reach the life-saving oxygen. But Turner wasn't there. At that moment, Gavin realized his friend had died. The rescue squad was able to
Oh,
confirm
bro.
this only the following day when the mud clouds in the cave settled a bit. Turner's body was found just 30 meters from the extra oxygen tanks.
That's also the worst. It's not just cave diving, it's cave diving underwater. So you panic for a second, you kick up all that silt, you kick up all that dust, you can't see anything. You don't have a rescue rope thing tied around you. You're cooked. You're done for. GG's. That's
The
horrible.
world's best cave diver and fought until the very end. Dan Malone. For 10 days straight, they descended to a depth of over 106 meters near four sharks, but didn't enter the cave itself. So, when the divers were given 2 days to rest before the start of the filming, Rob decided to secretly dive into the Kalix Cavern and explore the dangerous opening in its distant corner. There were rumors that it hid an enormous chamber with previously unseen sceneries. Parker was an adventurer, so Malone didn't even try to talk his companion out of it, deciding to go with him instead. The other divers who learned about their plan decided to join the two men to support them. Rob and Dan waited for the moment when there were no strong currents in the cave and started their descent. As it turned out, the crack they'd been planning to swim through got as narrow as 60 centimeters.
What?
So the men had to take off their oxygen tanks and drag them behind. At
What?
some point, the passage became so narrow.
That's when you just don't. That's when you just turn around. If you and your oxygen tanks can't fit through a space that you want to go through and you have to physically take them off, that's when you say, fuck that, turn around. We're done. No. We're not doing that.
Dan Malone was frantic, trying to figure out what to do, when suddenly he saw that by some miracle, Bob had squeezed himself through and disappeared. Eventually, both of them ended up in a giant undiscovered cave with breathtaking views. But almost right away, they had to go back since, because of the passage
Let me
being
just
so
almost
narrow, they'd
die.
only taken small oxygen tanks with them, seriously worrying.
That's
All
so
of a
scary.
sudden, Rob came around and swam forward cheerfully. Dan couldn't believe his own eyes, but felt incredible relief. Finally, both divers entered the narrow crack leading to the exit and the extra oxygen tanks. But it turned out getting them wouldn't be easy at all. At some point, the current got so strong the men had to hold on to the safety rope so as not to drift back. They were literally using their arms to pull themselves forward as if climbing up a rope. Finally, having exerted...
And he's doing this while nitrogen narcosis or whatever he said is happening. So he feels like he just downed like 8 shots of whiskey and he's still pulling himself through trying to save his friend. That is insane.
Gargantuan efforts.
Great friend,
Dan
though.
managed to break free from the deadly trap. He grabbed one of the extra decompression tanks before he ran out of air completely. And, just like in the previous story where Bill Gavin was hoping to see his mate Parker, Dan Malone directed his flashlight at the crack in the rock, waiting for Rob. But Rob wasn't coming. Dan was running out of time. He was still under the influence of nitrogen narcosis and had
Nitrogen
too little
narcosis,
oxygen.
yeah.
So the man signaled to the support diver, Tom, to help Rob. Alas, Tom turned out too bulky to pass through the crack. Moreover, he was running out of air as well. Dan Malone was horrified to realize he only had 2 options: to rush to Rob's rescue and inevitably die, or spend 3 hours undergoing decompression to bring back the news that Rob would not be coming back. Dan chose the second option, and Rob's body was recovered and resurfaced only a few days later when the
That's awful.
But every diver reaching significant depths knows there's a risk of remaining underwater forever. Getting a dead diver's body to the...
It was either save yourself and come back with the bad news, or die down there with him. I could only imagine the guilt that he went through having to leave him down there. That's...
surface may sometimes be extremely challenging, or even impossible, especially if the diver died at extreme depths, like in Bushman's Hole. It's a giant well-like cave with a depth of 283 meters. Yet it's located not in the ocean, but at a private farm in South Africa, at over 1,500 meters above the sea level. That's why, technically, Submerging to its floor is equivalent to descending to the depth of 339 meters.
Wow.
To be more precise, that's the depth for which the decompression plan is calculated, since this process also has to do with pressure. And at the altitude of 1.5 kilometers, it's not the same as at the sea level. The process is so complicated that the mark was reached for the very first time by the legendary diver Nuno Gomes in 1996, setting the world record for the deepest cave submersion. The descent took him around 14 minutes, and the decompression lasted for over 12 hours. Now you understand just how dangerous and complex the task
12
of conquering the
hours.
Bushmen Hole is, and why the cave is such a lure for divers from all over the world. One of the
12 hours to dive all the way down there. Is it 12 hours down, 12 hours up? Are you going to be spending an entire day diving? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But hey, if it's your passion,
was a
dude.
young South African extreme enthusiast, Dion Dreyer, who was 20 years old back in 1994. The young man had around 200 submersions under his belt when a group of divers
Oh, nice. He's
offered him to
ranked.
join in their exploration
What
of
would that be
Bushman's Hole.
ranked? Would that be ranked like would that be like 200 submersions? Like are we talking submersions like 50 to 100 feet or over, or like just like I've been underwater? Cuz if he did like 200 like pretty deep dives, I'd rank him like diamond. Like diamond, maybe like emerald. If we're going off of R6 rank here. Maybe if we're going off of like I'd rank him emerald.
Dion was thrilled as he dove into the seemingly
You have to be
small tunnel,
global
passed
elite
through
to
the
go
narrow
past
vertical
1,000
tunnel,
feet.
and found himself in one of the world's biggest freshwater caves. The group of divers successfully reached the planned height of 150 meters, although they couldn't see anything except pitch black darkness. They got what they came for. They'd conquered Bushman's Hole. Still, the group was in for a slow ascent with lengthy decompression. So, the divers started making their way back, keeping an eye on each other's condition. The man swimming before Dion checked whether he was all right from time to time. The young man gestured that they were also deprived
Just
of
like
the chance to
that,
give
too. Like that, too. Like 1 second you're looking back, oh, we're all good over here. Like a minute later, you look back, he's gone. Wow. Yeah. Nah. Mm-mm.
proper goodbye. The
Mm-mm.
Bushman's Hole became his grave, so they installed a memorial board there. Years passed, and the memory of the tragedy began slowly fading.
Wait, hold up. He was 20. Y'all, he was 20. Man.
A board there. Years passed, and the memory of the tragedy began slowly fading until 10 years later, Dave
Too
Shaw
young, bro.
dived into the cave. This experienced 50-year-old diver became the third person to have reached the mark of 244 meters in Bushman's Hole.
Dude,
Shaw
800
got to the
feet.
cave's very bottom.
Can we put that in perspective real quick? How tall is 800 feet? I can't compare that to anything. Oh my god. Can we like zoom in here? The Eiffel Tower is 1,000 feet tall. The Statue of Liberty, I think that says 300. What? 305 feet tall the Statue of Liberty is. So if you take 3 Statue of Liberties, that's close to 800. What? Damn. That's like unfathomable. That I genuinely can't think of that. I
He was
can't
pointing his
think of that.
flashlight at everything around him when suddenly he saw a human body. Dave
Eee.
immediately realized it was Dion Dreyer. The man tried to get the body up to the surface, but the deceased diver's oxygen tanks were stuck. So Shaw marked the place to find the body the next time he'd return and went up to the surface. He informed the police about his find and announced to his colleagues and Dion's parents that despite everything, he was going to recover the young man's body from the cave's floor. It was a
Good man.
complex operation,
Good man.
so the preparation for it was very careful. Almost 10 divers were supposed to stay at different depths and hand each other Dion's body, which Dave had to wrap into a special bag. The operation started in the morning of January 8, 2005. Everyone assumed their positions, and the diver closest to Shaw was watching his flashlight.
I just
move near the
realized,
body.
imagine how cold that water is. Imagine how cold that water is. Oh my god, especially at 6 a.m. Oh my god.
Waiting for the man to start ascending, but things didn't go quite as smoothly for Shaw. Upon reaching the place where he'd
Like, do
previously
those
found
wetsuits
Dion,
really
the
keep you
man
that
saw
warm?
only
I
his
don't think
equipment was
so.
still there, and the body itself qualified enough to go to the bottom of Bushman's hole. So it was impossible to help Shaw, even if he was still alive. Dumbstruck by what he'd just witnessed, the diver wrote something on a special board and passed it on to his partner above. In this way, the writing reached the surface, and
So he
everyone
just
found out
died?
that Dave wasn't coming back. Considering the difficulty of submerging to the bottom of Bushman's cave,
So he just
everyone had to
dead.
accept the gruesome reality that Dave and Dion might remain there forever. Shaw's team and Dreyer's parents were
But
devastated.
didn't the other guy, like, get right next to the body before? But that guy just died.
Yet there
Oh.
was nothing they could do, so they started packing to leave this deadly place as fast as possible. But before they drove off, something incredible and unexpected happened. Bubbles appeared on the water's surface, followed by the bodies of Dave and Dion. It's unclear exactly why and how it
Damn.
happened, but Shaw managed to get the deceased diver to the surface, even if at the price of his own life. We know
Let's
that
go.
at least 4 divers have lost their lives in Bushman's Hole.
What a
Yet it
guy.
remains
What a
a
guy.
mecca for
I
the
don't know how he
experienced
did that,
enthusiasts
but-
of the extreme. Nevertheless, some places are even more dangerous than this cave, and they have this kind of reputation for a reason. The American city of Santa Rosa in the state of New Mexico boasts its own blue hole. It's popular with both experienced divers and beginners. This reservoir is a natural artesian well with crystal clear water.
That looks so
From
sick.
above, it looks like a small lake with a diameter of 24 meters, almost doubling in width near the bottom. The cave's depth is also 24 meters, but these parameters don't seem like anything compared to the deadly places we discussed previously. So why are we talking about Santa Rosa Blue Hole? That's because at the bottom of this natural pool, there is an entrance to a cave system. The unknown tunnels were first explored by 2 beginner divers in 1976.
Why would you go down there? Why? You see this big open space. Oh, this is for beginner divers. You see this, like, 5 feet in diameter hole. You're like, dude, we should check that out. We should check that out.
But Santa
No.
Rosa Caves turned out to be too harsh with amateurs. The men got lost in the underwater rock maze and died. The search and recovery of their bodies was a challenging task for the local rescue team. Entering the caves required impeccable diving skills, and the rescuers had no map for orientation in the tunnels. Still,
Nah.
they managed to find and
Nah.
surface the dead divers' bodies. Moreover, in the process of the search, the rescue team explored a part of the caves and reached a depth of 58 meters. However, the underwater tunnels turned out to be so dangerous that the landowners decided to block the entrance to them with a metal
Good.
grid. It stayed there
Good.
for 40 years, until 2016,
Oh
when
my
a group
God.
of professional explorer divers was authorized to map the forbidden caves.
Okay.
All of them were super experienced divers, so the expedition had the best possible planning. The first person
Good.
to enter the cave was supposed to be Mike Young, and in the meantime, his colleague, Shane Thompson, was supposed to stay on the ground, in the reserve, so to speak. Thompson used to serve as a diving instructor for the U.S. Navy and had around 20 years of experience. Maybe
shit.
that's why he didn't want to wait and dived into the blue hole together with Young. And it was Shane who was the first to push through the
Yeah,
narrow
look at all that. Look at all that dust. Look at all that silt, dude. Look at all that. Dude, when you just can't see. You just will not be able to see.
passage to the
That
cave
is.
system. Apart from it being pitch dark, the divers had also disturbed the sediment that had been gathering at the bottom for 40 years. So, this immediately caused a significant drop in visibility, and the flashlights were almost of no help in the muddy water. Still, the divers kept on moving, and soon Shane noticed a tunnel that seemed to be leading to a large cave. But the muddy water and the optical illusion stopped the men from seeing the whole picture. The reality was that the tunnel got much narrower before turning into a wide cavern. So, moving while relying almost exclusively
This?
on touch, Shane reached the narrowest spot and got stuck. Moreover, due to poor visibility, Young didn't notice at first that something had gone wrong and wanted to pass by his companion, but got stuck as well. Nevertheless, he kept calm and realized that the only right option was to return to the previous place. Yet Shane, for some reason, lost his self-control and started thrashing as if in a seizure, hitting his fellow diver with his flippers and trying to push forward. At first, Young, who successfully reached the wide tunnel, didn't understand what had happened. It took a very long time, but the diver reached the next cave. He swam to the widest tunnel, hoping that Shane had done the same. And finally, at the end of an extremely steep and narrow passage, Young saw his fellow diver.
There we go.
It shook the man.
He didn't have to say it like that, dude. He said he found. Oh, look at the way he says it.
Young saw his fellow diver.
Young saw his fellow diver.
Dead.
It shook. Yeah. He made it sound like it was about to be something good, dude. He made it sound.
He realized that now he had.
He made it. He made it sound like it was about to be some like good like story, good end of story. Oh man.
The others of his teammates' death. Young used up all of his energy and oxygen supply, but eventually managed to get out. However, getting Shane's body back to the surface took a long time and a big team. No one understood exactly what had happened and why, but the death of a professional like Shane was proof that cave diving can be deadly, regardless of the diver's skill level.
Yeah, it can be deadly.
Tunnels were closed forever, and a memorial was installed nearby.
Don't worry. 10 years from now, that's going to be opened up again, and people are going to be asked to go down there. Don't you worry. 10 years from now.
Although these tragedies cast a shade upon the history of diving, approximately 6 million people in the world continue doing it. Still, experienced divers warn that the ocean and caves must be treated with responsibility and respect, or they can take cruel revenge.
Yeah, that is, see this? Yeah, no. God, dude. Nah, that is too much. That is, no. All right, man. That was the end of that. All right. Good way to finish off the stream. Great way to finish off the stream. All right. Hey, anyone who's watching, I hope you have an amazing rest of y'all's day. All right. Hope to see y'all tomorrow. All right. Have an amazing rest of y'all's day, man. Hope you'll see you tomorrow. Have an amazing day. Once again, great stream. Amazing stream. Appreciate y'all, man.